Talk about it. I mean, this has been in the works for so long. Then we had that little event in 2020 that we're not allowed to talk about. We had all these different things that happened. But today we get to talk about something that we've been wanting to talk about a long time, which is unlocking the human potential. Because when you talk about unlocking the human potential, the first thing you have to start with is understanding what potential is. So what do? We go to a definition. And when you look at the definition of potential, you see having or showing the capacity to become or develop. Each of you has a potential to become something. In addition, you can also look at the noun, latent qualities or abilities. They're in you, you're just not utilizing them. Or what's worse is we're dealing with the problem associated with potential. Because see, there's a major problem when it comes to potential, and that has to do with the wonderful mirror. By the way, do y'all know why they put so many mirrors in gyms? I'll answer the question for you. It's men. If you don't believe me, go to the gym. You'll see it. Have you ever seen so many guys doing this and this? It's crazy. But no, the mirror is the limitation of potential, because when you look in the mirror, you see one of two things. You either see this. Children are really good at this. Children are really good at looking in the mirror and seeing what can be. But most of us, when we look in the mirror and we're thinking potential, it's more like this. Because we've been there, we tried that, it didn't work, we're not good enough, our parents never had it, we've done everything. How many are with me that they've tried 1,000 times and it never worked? I was an 8% body fat college athlete. 10 years later, I was 307 pounds trying to figure out how it happened. Here's the secret. I had 400-pound eating habits as an 8% college athlete. I just stopped doing what I was doing as an athlete, and 10 years later, I found out what I really was. Because see, if you really want to get to where you want to go, you have to understand this wonderful little aspect about muscle and fat. You have to understand that muscle on your body is going to burn 7 to 10 calories a day. Fat is going to burn 2 to 3. So, simple math. Hey, look, we want more muscle on our body. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, but the question is, how do I get it? Because see, a lot of people, when they think, hey, I want to lose weight, you actually don't want to lose weight. Little secret, you don't want to lose weight. What you want to do is you want to lose fat and you want to gain muscle. There's a big difference between those two. Because when you just lose weight, what you're losing is muscle, fat, and water. I love the people that go to the gym and immediately after the one workout, they jump on the scale to see how much they lost. That's called water weight, folks. That's water weight. Guess what? It'll come back, or it should. But here's the secret. 75% of people don't get daily minimum activity. Think about that for a second. 75% of Americans do not get their daily activity. Usually the main reason given, I don't have time. My question to the person that always says I don't have time is just curious, what's your favorite TV show? Because the reality is we make time for the things that are important to us. We all have this human potential. We all have these things that we can become. We have all of this stuff that's in us, but we've given up on ourselves. Now I'm going to give you a stat that's going to really motivate you in a way. Should. What if I showed you this? You can literally reduce your chances of all of the mortality issues that we have in this country, from cancer to heart disease to diabetes, by more than 20% with strength activities. Notice how it doesn't say weight loss activities. That says strength activities. Actually putting our muscles under stress. Because when we put our muscles under stress, guess what? We actually have more muscle on our body, because that's how this works. But in order to do that, sometimes we need things called supplements. Now, we've had an amazing product line since 2015. In fact, there's a lot of people in this room that were here when this launched back in 2015, and I still can't believe it's that long. But I'm here to tell you that that's gone. Now, for those of you that love pre and post, don't worry. You can keep buying it until it's gone, and when it's gone, it's not coming back. But I need you to imagine with me for just a second. Because see, knowledge will take you from point A to point B, but imagination will take you anywhere. Imagine a product that no one else has.
Amen.
What I mean by that is what we're about to show you, you can type into Google and won't find it anywhere else. Imagine a product that actually is going to delay your fatigue point, but also increase your strength gains.
I like that.
Imagine a product that has been shown to help sarcopenia, the loss of lean muscle mass in aging and older folks without working out.
Whoa.
I didn't say you were going to gain muscle without working out. I just said it's going to help slow down the loss of lean muscle mass as a result of it. But most importantly, imagine a product line, and I am saying a product line,
Amen.
that works synergistically together to give you results like you've never seen before to unlock your potential.
All right.
You guys want to see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to see it?
Yeah.
4 years in the making. Here it is.
Yeah.
Prepare to revolutionize your fitness journey with the groundbreaking ID Fitness line by IDLife. These products are based on scientifically verified, patented ingredients designed to redefine your limits. And it all starts with Load, your ultimate workout enhancer. Load is a powerhouse blend of peak ATP, MyHMB, and creatine monohydrate, engineered to boost muscle strength, solidify gains, and unlock your untapped potential. Next, it's time to work with this game-changing pre-workout formula that stands out in a market riddled with empty promises. Fueled by nitrosogene, carnosine, mediator PA, amino L40, and more, work optimizes blood flow, delays fatigue, and turbocharges protein synthesis for unmatched stamina, focus, and motivation. After giving your all in the gym, it's time to recover with a revolutionary post-workout formula that redefines restoration. Recover uses tart cherry powder, L-ornithine, L-citrulline, MyHMB, and more to minimize recovery soreness while supporting metabolic waste reduction, mental tranquility, and holistic rejuvenation. This combination of load, work, and recover is a one-of-a-kind fitness regimen based on unrivaled science and world-class ingredients. And it's not just about supplements. It's about fueling your journey to peak performance and recovery. So don't settle for ordinary. Join the revolution and unleash your potential with ID Fitness by IDLife.
I can't even begin to tell you the work that went into making this a reality. And, I want to kind of talk about the ID Fitness line because I want you to understand this isn't just about building muscle. It's also preserving what you have. But there's a combination that we're going to go through, and we're going to talk some science here in a bit. And we're actually going to show you why it works the way that it does. But most importantly, I want you to understand, if you see this as just a fitness line, you are missing the point. This is a longevity line. I want you to hear me on this. You want to talk about the foundation of longevity. It is in the ability to build and retain lean muscle. And that's what we're about to show you. When you talk about load is kind of that thing where you really want to try to put on muscle. You want to preserve that muscle. But most importantly, you want to take 3 of the very top ingredients you can possibly have in sports nutrition and put them into a single product. Now I want you to understand something. If you take these 3 ingredients and Google them right now, you will not find this product anywhere else. Well, it doesn't exist. And in fact, if you try to get all 3 of these products individually, the cost on Amazon is going to be over $100 retail. But the great thing about IDLife is, sometimes we can do it cheaper than they can. But we also did it better, and you're going to find out why. Because when you look at the benefits of load, they are really endless. I mean, from boosting strength, and if we want to talk about strength gains, I can tell you from a personal story, this stuff does work. You want to know what the secret is? I've been using these for about 9 or 10 months in all the various iterations. So some of you know me, some of you see me. That's where the change is coming from. But the other thing is this is enhancing endurance. It's minimizing muscle loss. It's reducing fatigue. But see, load is just one of those things. Load is the other thing I'll tell you about load is this. The recommended serving size is two scoops. If you're under 150 pounds, guess what? It may just be one scoop for you. All this information is on the website. But you also noticed something else when we launched this. You saw the ID Fitness line. When you go to the website, guess what you're going to see? You're going to see the ID Fitness line with a web page that talks about how everything works together. Then if you want to dig down, you're going to see Load, Work, and Recover having their own pages as well. So this is a new concept that we're going to start doing. We're going to show you how these things work. Speaking of work, this is the other side of the equation. You're talking about something that is going to help with these branded ingredients, help reduce lactic acid buildup during your workout. It's going to actually increase nitric oxide. It's going to help with protein synthesis, but most importantly, it also contains all 9 essential amino acids that are fermented, not the other type. Now, I want to make sure everyone understands fermented versus normal amino acids. Does anyone know where normal amino acids come from? Here's the answer. Duck feathers and human hair.
Right.
That's in most products. Because why? It's cheap. Fermented is bioavailable. Now, here's the other great thing about work. It's going to give you the best pump you've ever had in the gym, and it doesn't contain a stimulant.
Wow.
No caffeine, no big niacin. 50% of people work out at night, and they can't take pre-workout without inhibiting their sleep. Now you can. Here's all the wonderful ingredients in it, and we're talking about the most bioavailable forms of things like arginine. And of course you have, the beta-alanine as well. We're talking things that your body can actually metabolize and get the benefit from. You want to look at all the benefits? Here they are. You want to talk about a motivation product? Anyone ever have those mornings when you wake up and you're like, I don't want to? Yeah, last weekend, the wife is out of town. I have all of my dogs. I have my grand dog. Yeah, I'm not the grandkids stage yet, but I do have dogs that come to my house and stay. They're there. I woke up, did not want to. But guess what? I took this thinking, let's just see if this stuff really does motivate. Hour and 30 minutes later, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to stop my workout because I felt so good. This helps with the mental aspect of things as well. But probably the most important product in the line is what I've lovingly referred to as Hulk juice. You saw Josh walking up here with a green bottle. Let me talk to you about something with regard to recover, because I want to make sure everyone hears this. You do not build muscle in the gym. You tear it down. You build muscle in recovery and while you sleep. Having the right recovery formula is critically important to make sure that that muscle that you want to gain is actually building where it needs to. This is going to feed that muscle everything that it needs so that you're going to recover, and also help delay that wonderful thing that everyone loves, which is that DOMS, that delayed onset muscle soreness. Don't we love that? But most importantly, this. If you're a soccer mom with 3 kids and you haven't worked out in 2 years, and the reason why you don't is because you don't want to go through all the pain associated with it, this is going to help with that as well. Because what this does is basically nullifies, or I can't say nullifies, because I can't say it goes completely away. But we're about to talk to science about this thing, and you're going to see the reduction in DOMS as a result of utilization of this and Load together. It is a powerful combination. You want to look at all of the ingredients in there? It is packed with everything that you could possibly need to recover. But most importantly, if you take it in the evening, say 8 o'clock at night, guess what? You're going to get mental tranquility with it as well. You're going to get a calming effect. What's that going to do for you? It's going to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and get a deeper sleep. This is all about recovery. You want to talk about all the wonderful benefits that this thing has. I mean, it is loaded. Speeding up relief, nutrient pack, reduced metabolic waste. Anyone know what metabolic waste is? If you don't, you're about to. Now, what's interesting is usually you guys are accustomed to when we're launching a product, I get up here and I talk all of these wonderful science things, and all my greens in the audience are geeking out when we talk science. Sometimes you have to know and be smart enough to know that there's people smarter than you. And we have those people here today. But you probably all are thinking one question, so I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way right now. Which is it Informed Sport certified? Here's the best part. Informed Sport usually requires you to have 3 lots produced, and then they will certify a product. In this particular situation, because we have manufacturer is certified, because we're certified, because we have a long-standing history, and because all of these products have already been looked at and certified by Informed Sport, It's already in the process, and we should have it in the coming weeks and months. So the first round of packaging doesn't have the logo on it, but guess what? As soon as we get that certification, which we expect at any time, you'll see a big announcement. It'll be on the website, and we will basically tout that as something that is brand new and everyone can use without question. Now, I've been promising science. Are you guys ready for some science?
Yep.
You want to understand why this is different and why no one else has it. What we've done is we've brought somebody from TSI with us today. Sean Bear is the Vice President of Business Development. We also have Tom Riley. All of you guys know Tom. He's our Senior Director of Product Procurement and Development. Both of these guys have been in the weeds on this product for this entire time. Well, Tom's been there the entire 4 years. And, we have Sean that is a new partner. But the reason why we wanted to bring them is because Sean can talk about all of the research about just one of the companies that we work with, TSI, that has the PKTP and MyHAB. So please, warm welcome for Sean Bear and Tom Riley. A little bit yesterday, and we talked the other day as well, but I always like to start with one main question, which is, why did TSI agree to partner with IDLife?
Great question. We were just talking about this not only yesterday, but just out in the lobby. As a company that creates and distributes, manufactures, does the research on ingredients, we want to have partners. And I know a member of our team is out in the audience, Scott Stile. Scott's a critical part of our team. And what he did is he talked to us about IDLife, made introductions, and we realized this is the kind of company we want to work with. We, like you, have customers we like to fire. And what I mean by that is they're not doing or not representing what IDLife stands for. We're the same way. We want to make sure customers that we work with, like IDLife, represents our ingredient, doses it correctly, uses the science within the claims we recommend. All those pieces that are critical to creating good partnership and delivering a promise to the consumer is critical to our culture. We've been in business for almost 30 years. So there's a reason why we've been there creating products and ingredients. It's because of relationships like IDLife.
You know, Tom, in the development of this line, and this was a long development process, with a lot of iterations, I know, I tasted all of them. What's interesting is we got to make choices. So why did we agree to partner with TSI? Because I think that's probably just as equally as important.
Yeah, I think the defining factor, aside from all the support, all the samples, all the back and forth, I think their philosophy really anchored me into them. When their CEO's philosophy now is, yes, we're going to sell these raw materials to these companies and partner with them. And then what do we do? We have to go make sure that these formulas and the efficacy is successful, not just hope that they sell.
You know, Sean, you heard me say when I was bringing you out, we have now a workout line that's stimulant-free. And we talked yesterday about the difference between peak ATP energy and stimulant energy. And I know you love the word energy, so why don't you share that with the audience?
I promise I won't go on a rant here, but so we all know our industry and we all know the entire market as a whole, as well as what we see at grocery stores, convenience stores. What's the term energy really representing? Energy drinks. Stimulant, caffeine, exactly right. Reality is energy, from a nutrition background, is three things, right? You have protein, carbohydrate, fat. Those are our true fuels that come from our food. And then within our body, we have an energy currency that, in essence, energy is transferred from cell to cell. It's kind of recharged. Think of it as a battery. That's ATP. It's adenosine triphosphate. And we're actually supplementing the ingredient we have, and that's in these products, as adenosine triphosphate disodium, which is the real energy, it's real ATP. So it's the real currency our body uses to transfer energy. And that's why I love the Load product. Absolutely think it's brilliant.
So let's talk about that for a second, because obviously, there's nothing wrong with an energy drink, but when you're talking about a workout product, You know, a lot of people think, oh, I need this stimulant for the workout, but I think your science basically says, no, that's not the kind of thing you're looking for. Really what you're looking for is ATP. Let's talk about why ATP is so important in a true workout run.
So that goes back to the stimulant. So stimulants do work. I mean, we know caffeine will improve the perception of energy or your ability to expend energy. But we see all kinds of other issues with it. For example, there's some interesting data coming out right now on caffeine use and sleep. And that sleep just isn't necessarily like, can I get to sleep, but am I staying asleep? So when we start looking at things like non-stim formulations, and why I think it's so important, and I think everybody up on the stage and on the team thinks it's important, is because what we're really doing is we're talking about what is the outcome you're looking for when you take a stimulant. And that outcome is you want to be able to do more reps or get more work in with a perception of the same effort. Let's be honest here, if I'm able to produce a greater result with a product I take in the gym, or we'll get to this in a little bit, even outside the gym, but if I can actually get that benefit, then what do I need the stim for? I'm looking for a training outcome. So what happens when I have success? It's a reward. We are all based off of emotion and reward in our decisions we make. So if I have the reward of a more perceived, less effort, but I get the greater outcome, I can string together more workout. We'll get into this a little bit later. We string together more workouts, I have more success, I'm more compliant to not only the program, but also the products. So then it becomes this symbiotic relationship between the products that are helping get more out of my training, or we'll find out later in life.
Well, let's talk about that, because when we talk about ATP energy, or peak ATP energy specifically, we're not just talking about energy, we're also talking about delaying what you perceive as your fatigue point. In fact, you guys have done countless studies on your products, which is one of the main reasons why we partner with you. I mean, the number of clinical studies, guys, on this stuff is endless. We're talking thousands of clinical studies on the ingredients that are in this line. But this one was very interesting because we're talking about single dose of peak ATP. Let's talk about this one.
Right. So many times with nutritional ingredients, we have a long play there, right? We talk about whether we take protein, or what we'll talk about with creatine, or what we talk about with HMB. We'll talk about these other benefits, but typically it comes from accumulating volume or accumulating work. When we talk about peak ATP in the acute sense, in other words, the immediate benefit you get during a training cycle or a training session, think of it as, again, going back to the caffeine story. Why do they take them? Because they get a perceived or a feel from taking the product acutely. It's right then and there. But as you can see in this image, or in this slide, what we have here, and I want to point something out really quick. So I like truth in stories, and if you have a truth in a story, it's easy to make the story come true, right? So in other words, if I'm training and I tell you X is going to happen, you see X, you trust what the message is. That's why we're partnering with IDLife. So here you can see this clearly. On the top one, what we're seeing is volume. But this is a single session of 3 sets at 80% of the 1 RM. What's impressive is, and I point this out because it's really a factor of the bottom, total reps. So people not taking peak ATP got 40 total reps in those 3 sets of 80% of their 1 RM. But simply adding ATP before they did their session, look what the result was. They almost got an additional 10 reps, just under 24%. Now you're gonna ask, how do you get the 0.4 rep? That's actually, you have a summation of the number of subjects. So no one's doing half reps there. It's some got 9, some got 10, somebody got 8, somebody got 12. But the reality is you can do that much more volume, and the perception is you're putting forth the same effort. So what do you think the training effect is? Much, much greater. So this is what's so critical. And then you couple it with all the other ingredients, and it's pretty exciting to see all these together. People just don't do this because of cost. IDLife is different. In a good way.
You know, Tom, I've been a test dummy for these things, and it seems like I was always walking into your office in the morning and saying, okay, I just experienced this. Can you explain to me what's happening? Why is this happening? But really go back to, because let's be real, we had a different mindset with regard to what we were going to do. And then this wonderful event in 2020 happened. We're like, okay, forget all that. And then we had this evolution of nutritional science. Let's talk about that evolution and how we got to where we are.
That's a long story. I'll try to do it as quickly as possible. But if everybody's going to take a stroll down memory lane with me, about 4.5 years ago, when we all agreed we would finally go to town on pre and post workout and try and improve it, we had some rules that we kind of put in place. We wanted it, of course, to be more efficacious. We wanted it to have clinical substantiation. We wanted it to be flexible consumption system, and we wanted to procure our own ingredients so we had control of the product, right? And when we finally got some traction on that, something happened to all of us, the pandemic. So that whole project kind of went back into first gear. But something else happened. Within IDLife, we started reaching out to these additional world-class suppliers that we have. We started learning more clinical science. And something else happened outside IDLife. It gave universities, researchers, clinicians time to test their products for other benefits. And as this time is progressing, and as we are working on this project, we are clearly noticing, I'm clearly noticing, the benefits of these ingredients are beginning to branch out. There's tangential benefits. There's other facets of this product that will benefit you. So we went back to our rules and we added something. We added the main one, scalability. So Tom, what the heck does scalability mean for IDLife? It means it is appealing to everyone. It is not applicable to everyone, it is appealing to everyone. It is applicable to the 75-year-old elderly woman who's worried about bone loss and muscle loss. It is appealing to the 38-year-old woman who is fatigued at the end of every single day just trying to keep up with her 3 kids. Right? It is appealing to the 22-year-old gym rat who wants to look more like Mark Benton. It is appealing to the 55-year-old man who realizes now that I can't just eat whatever I want and not have consequences. It appeals to everyone. And that's what happened over that time period. So that revelation really caused this product to take a leap forward for us. And through those relationships and through the multiple dosing systems that Mark was describing before, do we have pre and post workout fans here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You are going to love this.
Amen.
You know what's interesting? That since 2020, in the last 3 years, there's been more nutritional science studies published than there was in the previous 20 years combined.
Yeah.
Why? Tom told you, they have time. But there's an interesting aspect about the other ingredient that TSI has licensed to IDLife, and that's MyHMB. And Sean, I want to talk about MyHMB, leucine, and the anabolic response, also known as protein synthesis, because I think it's important to understand how that works, and most importantly, the benefits that MyHMB actually provides.
So I could definitely talk about this for the rest of the day. Yeah. But I was told that we had to keep this somewhat in check. So I've been doing research around HMB for 30 years, and this is my favorite joke to tell is, yes, I started when I was in grade school. Obviously, that's not true. But no, HMB really came from a group of 2 scientists doing work looking at the benefits of protein on protein synthesis. In other words, we eat protein, we increase our muscle mass, correct? Well, not so fast. Because in reality is that there are building blocks that come from protein, as we know as amino acids, but there's also a signaling process. And that signaling process is to increase synthesis or building of proteins in our body, and there's a degradation process. It's all very much in balance, but anytime that balance is kind of out of our favor, we lose muscle. In other words, degradation is greater. What's so special about HMB is it actually turns on switches in both directions. It increases protein synthesis, similar to what you see with leucine, similar to what you see with protein, but it also reduces protein breakdown. That's the critical difference. Mm-hmm. It's the only nutritional intervention that will turn off that protein degradation side. Yes, there's pharmaceutical things that do it, but there's none from a nutritional standpoint. So it's about being proactive on our muscle health and our protein synthesis.
So one of the great benefits about not being a scientist is you know when what he just said is very confusing. So I'm going to say it a different way, which is it helps you build muscle and retain the muscle you had without losing it. So that's what
That's right. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
He's my translator.
That's what I do. But you know, there's another important part about the combination of this product, and it really is a math equation.
It very much is.
Because when you look at the math, I want you to explain this because it is so unbelievable that it can only be explained with science.
Right. So as you're seeing this up here, and I promise you I'll keep this more basic. When we look at where HMB comes from, think of protein first, and in protein we have amino acids. One of them is leucine. From leucine, about 5% of that amino acid is metabolized to HMB, or beta-hydroxybutyrate. Clearly you know why we call it HMB. So with that in mind, the question I've been getting asked since the mid-90s is, well, I'll eat more steak, or I'll just consume a leucine supplement. This puts it in perspective for you. If I'm only able to metabolize 5% of my leucine, even if I were to consume a diet rich in leucine or supplement with leucine, I'd have to make sure I got 60 grams a day. And that's a big assumption because as we all know, when we consume certain nutrients, we have feedback inhibition. Our body stops converting something into something else. And the reason why we have to be so cognizant of that is the next thing people will say is, well, what if I just take in protein? So I don't have to worry about that leucine part of it. 600 grams of protein is leucine-rich protein. And then on top of that, you have to assume you're going to convert it. So again, is this realistic on a day-to-day basis? No. 600 grams of protein, if you don't need all that extra energy or fuel outside of the building blocks that you need, those are just extra calories. So for the right amount of protein that your body demands, relative to amino acids,
You know how much food you
supplement.
have to eat
That's
to
the
get
whole
600
concept of
grams of
supplements.
protein in
We
a
get so
day?
caught up in, we think supplements are food. Food first. These products that are here and are used at IDLife, it's all about nutrition first. And that's key. And then we supplement these other things to get the other benefit outside of what our food can do. And that's where HMB is truly a supplement. I'm supplementing in addition to the protein, in addition to the leucine in my protein, or the added leucine in the product.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah.
this is my favorite slide, you know. So if you can see this slide, can anybody tell me how many nourished servings you need to take to get this my HMB level? 30.
4 bags.
30.
Tom is a soft talker, so I'll say 30.
30
nourished shakes in
30
a single day.
shakes equals 600 grams of protein.
Now, because here's the thing, and Sean, I want you to touch on this briefly if you can, because a lot of people are like, okay, how does HMB have anything to do with leucine? I mean, I want to talk about, people have now understood through science that HMB is a downstream metabolite of leucine. In fact, there's a lot of scientists that are now saying, well, leucine, everyone thinks is the trigger for muscle development, but really it could be HMB that is the true trigger.
Correct. And that's been known for a little bit in the literature. We've been talking about it for quite a while because we're the ones that really investigated HMB as this downstream metabolite. But for a long time, leucine was always considered, well, this is the amino acid that's triggering protein synthesis. But there are a few researchers that have recently pointed, I should just say recently, the past 10, 15 years we've seen it. They point out that the HMB is probably the benefit because you're converting that leucine, a percentage, 5%, to HMB. So it's probably that is the signaling portion of leucine, and it still is a very critical building block. So by supplementing HMB, you're getting that leucine benefit, and what's really special about it is the fact that you're getting the other side of that equation, minimizing the protein breakdown. Leucine on its own hasn't been shown to do that. Why? Because it probably has to do with signaling and maintenance of muscle. Even if we're not, going back to your slide very early here, when we're trying to lose weight, when we're on a calorie restriction, our body is full of systems that work together. And if I'm preventing muscle loss with HMB, I'm going to stimulate other things to happen. So one of those things is fat loss. So we see that coupled together. So this is why it's so important to think of it as not closed systems or silos. It's all interrelated. So if I'm turning on protein synthesis with a signal from HMB, it makes sense it would turn off protein breakdown. Why have both going full bore? That's a waste of energy, it's a waste of protein. So that's how our body uses it.
Now, one of the things that you kind of touched on that I really want to drive home, because when you were backstage, I told the audience, if you look at this as just a fitness line, you're missing the point. This is a longevity line, and I'm about to really drive that point home. Because you guys did a study on aging in elderly adults, specifically with HMB supplementation and vitamin 3, the combination of the two, vitamin D3 being the source of oxygen up the stream. But the idea behind it, these two things work together in a very unique way to preserve that muscle that we're talking about.
Right. And so I just give you a brief introduction of my background. I came on the HMB team and the team that did the discovery here because I was doing work with, not only was I an exercise physiologist, but I was also looking at changes in muscle as we age. This was back in the early 1990s. We were trying to figure out, not only do we know older adults lose muscle, but the bigger issue is what changes in the muscle itself. So let's just set the stage. This is the one that I think really hits home for most people because we're all aging or we know people that are aging, hopefully, right? The alternative is not positive. So reality is this. After the age, and hold on to your seats here, after the age of about 30 to 35, depending on when your true muscle maturity is, we lose about 10 to 15% of our muscle mass every decade. That's 1 to 1.5% per year. So when we talk about products that are focused on bone health, it's a significant number of women, but not all men. We talk about joint health, tremendously large market, right? Huge joint health. Think of all the joint health products, the commercials you see. That's a fraction of the aging adult population. Not everybody experiences joint issues. A lot of us do, but not everybody. 100% of us, everybody in this room and everybody outside of this room, if you get over the age of 30 to 35, you are experiencing that rate of loss. Now, how we set that bar and how we determine that path of loss is critical. So we were doing research on HMB in older adults, knowing that there is a need to turn on synthesis and reduce breakdown. And we found that. What we found was interesting was you increased muscle, but we didn't see an improvement in function until we analyzed for vitamin D status. When they're insufficient, all of a sudden, they just had the mass, no strength gains. When they were sufficient, in other words, vitamin D high, we realized they responded in both mass and function. So we did another study, NIH-funded study, and NIA, which is National Institute of Aging. It was a year-long study, so we're not just pixie dusting this for a few weeks. This is a true, study for a year, long-term study. We found that they increased muscle function and strength when a combination of HMB and vitamin D when they are supplemented daily, and that is without exercise. Why? The stressor isn't the exercise for the older adult. Aging is. So we can mitigate that. We don't prevent it, we just mitigate a portion of it so that you get that curve of loss pushed out. Anytime we can bring it up and we can push it out, we're improving quality of life, not just increasing longevity. And that's the critical part. That's why, again, I love this product for way more than just exercise. Load should be used by everybody you know.
It really is convenient that
Load is
IDLife
good for
just
everybody.
launched a brand new vitamin D product, isn't it? Isn't it funny how those things kind of work together? But there's another part of HMB that I touched on. Let's talk to the people for a second. I haven't worked out in 2 years, and the reason why I haven't is because I hate the pain that comes along with it. Anyone ever hear that, no pain, no gain? You hear that? With this product, no pain means results. I'm about to show you why. Because you guys did a study that actually talked about it. And I want to make sure people understand this one. So let's keep it super simple here. But the main thing is that DOMS feeling. 2 weeks into workouts, you guys see an increase of over 400% of the average person. Let's talk about this.
Right. So just, the CK, just think of that as a marker that is in our muscle that when damaged, it goes out in our blood and we can measure it. That's all you have to remember. CK, so if we see an increase in CK, you've damaged your muscles. So what typically happens when we start a program is we get incredibly sore, painful. It even impacts our work capacity and our ability to produce force for the next, depending on how long it takes to recover, between 72 hours, even sometimes longer. So 3 days plus. As you can see here, with the placebo, 435% increase in this muscle damage indicator. But with H&B supplementation, it's blunted. And this is something we've done numerous studies in exercising individuals, whether it's downhill running, depth jumps, a resistance training program. When we see new people or novice or experienced people increasing their training capacity or increasing their training load, we see the same effect without H&B, this increase in muscle damage. But every time you add H&B, or you look at the H&B treatments, it's reduced because it's protecting. Now, if the old saying is, no pain, no gain, we want the stimulus that we normally associate with the pain. That stimulus, although incredibly important, also produces a lot of times an outcome of that intense work that creates the damage. We can still get the same stimulus, but let's mitigate that pain or that damage so we can recover and train harder and get more results.
Tom, one of the things that we talked about in the development of the line was we wanted to make sure that people were not only getting a typical result, but an atypical result. And part of the reason why we partnered with TSI was because of studies like the one on the left, where we see this type of thing going. And let's talk a little bit just about, what we saw in the studies, why we were like, okay, is this real? And the conversations you have with TSI about, okay, you have to explain this to me, because if this is really what's happening here, because the main focus we had was, we don't want this just for the people that want to go to the gym. We want this for people that are just getting back, that just want to get started, want to preserve that muscle, but most importantly, want to actually unlock their true potential. And that's the main focus. So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I think part of the regimen that you're undertaking with this product is the overcoming that pain, overcoming that buildup of metabolic destruction in your muscles. And that is what is going to surprise you when you're working out, and it's also going to help you when you're recovering. So the fact that the HMB is buffering that pain, you're going to have a little bit more confidence, a little bit more motivation, and you're going to see results in your workouts that you probably haven't seen in the past.
Yeah, and PKTP and HMB, they're just part of it. I mean, there's a lot of other things in there as well that support that concept. So talk briefly, synergistically, how all this stuff was kind of designed to work together for that purpose.
Yeah. So load work and recovery is a tool. It's not necessarily a workout regimen, which it started as it was. The ability to subdose and individually select the components of this tool for how it fits into your lifestyle and what your desires are is something that I have never done before, and nothing that we have in IDLife time currently. The microdosing that Mark was talking about on the load and the universal applicability of the Recover product to every single person are two of the benefits that every person, similar to what Sean was saying, everyone should be taking no matter what. No matter what. Work, yes, work is a enticing, motivating, gotta get the gym work done like you were referring to. I've got to get the grass cut Saturday because Sunday is going to rain, so it's got to happen now. It's really a more of a focused product, but load and recover universal products for everyone.
Sean, I told you that personally what I was doing was I was taking load and recover every single day. And the very first conversation we had, I asked you a question because we spent, it seemed like weeks, trying to find another product anywhere that was using both PKTP and H&B. And I asked you a very simple question. Why is no one putting these together? And your answer?
Well, it's the total package what you guys put together. It's obviously, and it's the unfortunate side of the nutrition industry is cost. Believe it or not, this is going to shock you. There are people out there that formulate products based off of cost, not off of efficacy and benefit. I know it's shocking. But with that in mind, it's frustrating for a group like us who does the research and shows this is what works. And then a company uses the wrong dose, poor quality, and then the consumer doesn't get that result. So what do they think? That was a lie. The product doesn't work. Or that ingredient doesn't work. In reality, our ingredients work. It's just they have to be in this case, formulated correctly in the right amounts, using them the right way, as we've done in the research. And you see these results. And go ahead.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about it is the reason why I asked Sean the question was this right here. Absorb that for just a second. Why would nobody put those two together?
Gains and increase.
And Sean, the answer that you gave me was I said, why has no one ever done this before? And you said it's simple. They don't listen to us. you know, we listen, but you guys actually did a study that I think is probably the place where I kind of want to wrap this thing up. Because when you look at this study in and of itself, I think this explains the ID Fitness line, but most importantly, why we chose TSI as a partner and why we're so excited about getting this product in everyone's hands.
I can bench press 500 pounds.
It's this right here. Let's talk about this study and what it means so that people can understand it. Sean's favorite.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite slides because this is one of those that really came from a conversation. This whole study came from a conversation between two people. One that had an understanding about peak ATP and the other about HMB. And let me just remind you two things really quick. Remember what I said about peak ATP? Think of that first slide we really looked at there. If I am thinking of taking something that helps me get more reps, remember the whole 40 reps to almost 50 reps? That's training stimulus. With the same perceived effort, my stimulus has gone up by taking peak ATP. Now, what did I tell you about HMB? It's a novice person that's just starting or an athlete that's bumping up their training regimen. They need a stimulus. In older adults, the stimulus is aging. In unhealthy muscle loss situations, it is probably a disease or condition. But in all these cases, there is a stressor that is required. ATP allows you to push the training so the stress is greater. HMB allows you to recover from that. So it starts coming into play when we were talking about this. This could be more than just 1 plus 1. And that's additive when you're talking about research. It could be 1 plus 1 equals 3, 4, 5, 6. That's called synergy. So that's what you see here. So briefly, I will make this brief. Up to 8 weeks, it's a traditional program that is progressive, but yet is mindful of overreaching and overtraining. Overreaching is when you start to push too far, your body can't recover. Overtraining is an actual physiological state that you get into from overreaching, that now you simply get diminishing returns. And as you can see, between 8 weeks and 10 weeks, that is what they did to these subjects. 8 weeks was we assured that they were able to recover. 8 to 10 weeks, we pushed them into overreaching, and 10 to 12 weeks, we let them go back to that normal progressive with recovery.
So even
included.
with overreaching,
as you
they
can see
still
the
had
placebo,
gains.
as you would expect, if I showed you a placebo study, training study, and there was no change, I didn't design a very good training protocol. This training protocol
Watch this
resulted
one
in
here.
results at 8 weeks.
Overtraining.
But during the
Forget your
overreaching, what happened to them? All their gains in strength dropped. And they couldn't even get back after they got off that overreaching. Why? They were overtraining. Now look at the ATP and HMB. Both of them made great gains. But still, that overreaching caused them to have a little dip in their gain in strength. But as soon as they went back to normal training, proper training, they both gained above and beyond, kind of went back on path. But here's the exciting one. When you use them together, even in overreaching, probably overtraining phase, they still made these small little gains during that. Why? Because the ATP and HMB together are truly synergistic. It's not 1 plus 1. As you can see here, it's 1 plus 1 equals maybe 4 or 5. So that's the beauty of this product. Now you're adding some other ingredients too, and again, I get excited when I see people actually formulating the way a scientist would make a product, not the way somebody who's trying to sell a product for $14.99 because they have 16 layers to get through before it gets to the customer or the consumer.
You know, the thing that I love about this slide the most, just to really simplify it, is that bottom chart shows the average person working out in the gym the average way. You get all of these gains in 8 weeks, and all of a sudden you go back down to baseline 0. 2, 4 weeks later, you're not even back to where you were, and you're like, this doesn't work for me, I quit. With this product, it's not only you see the gains, you see 3x the gains, then you get excited, so you start working more, and it stays with you where you need to go until you catch up, and now guess what? You're at 20% of the gains you would have had if you didn't have it to start with. That is what this product is. That is what we've created for you, but most importantly, we're so excited to finally be able to talk about it and get it in your hands. I hope you guys have enjoyed this.